I had the pleasure of seeing this in TIFF, and it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, what a soulful, amazing film.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about how you first came across the script, what your first impressions were on the read.
It was, I think, we both found it was just brilliantly written, and it was actually quite a quiet period. It was, there's been a lot of turbulence in the industry and coming out of COVID and strikes, and it was sort of towards the end of that period that then Traindreams, my agent sent through Traindreams, and I read it through and I thought, this is really good storytelling, just really impactful. It's very difficult telling a story over, spanning decades. But Clint and Greg had managed to do that so successfully. So then it was about navigating Gladys and finding my way into her, knowing that I knew there was something really special in the storytelling. I
think those kind of like old style cinema stories where it's like these grand odysseys. I mean, that's the kind of thing I used to love watching growing up, and it's rarer in cinema these days. And when you do go through across someone's entire life, there's a sort of depth and a layer to things, and it's all encompassing. It really is nice to sort of get into that.
Well, that's what cinema can kind of do, isn't it? That's what it's brilliant at, is you can time travel and you can go anywhere. The imagination is unleashed, and as you say, traditionally that's what films seem to do much more, and that's sort of what we're returning to in this moment where cinema is really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And what about yourself? What was your sort of first impressions on the script?
So reading the script, I found that it was kind of how I see the world. I'm big into nature. I truly believe that we are all connected, and I think we're all that trees should have rights, in many ways. And so it was kind of how I see the world. And there was also a beauty in little things. Just I knew by the way it was written that Clint kind of saw beauty in simple things. So it was very moving. And I just wanted to be in it because just the whole thing was so beautiful. Like, it was just a rare occurrence that you're 100% sure that you want to be in it. So the nature aspect, and then all the people that were attached to the movie, that was a big draw.
Pretty good team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's important, because you are going to be spending time with people, and then also when they're great, that they're going to do a great job.
So, like, one of my favorite bits when you're having that sort of initial conversation, you've just hired your actors, you're discussing like the characters for the first time. What was that sort of conversation with Clint for both of you? Because I'm really interested in whether you're talking psychology, where the character came from, all of those interesting kind of tidbits from the script.
Yeah, I mean, with this project, it was very much, understanding what it would be like living that life. What were these pioneer women doing? How did they survive? And there was I read a great diary of a woman who'd lived a similar life to Gladys, and it was her and her daughter, and it was just the two of them. Her husband had died, and it was about their adventures traveling together and, fishing and having to hunt and cook their, food they'd found themselves. So that was one aspect of it. And then the book was incredibly, it was a really beautifully written book. So rare you get a great book and a great script. And then there were just lines in that. There was something about Gladys that she'd grown up in a patch of sunlight. And that she had you could feel that she was weathered from being outside. And so instinctively, obviously, that leads to, this is someone who's really comfortable in the outdoors, who really has experience and has inherited, a farming experience. So I guess I find I'm coming at it from all different angles.
I mean, that's great. I mean, did you sort of dip into the book then, or was it?
All the time, coming back to it. And there were little moments.
Yeah, because it's such a rich tapestry of, tiny moments of experience and being in that kind of wilderness, and just, understanding the culture and the people and the farming life, I suppose. I mean, because that's quite alien to us now when we're living in this kind of century.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Kerry, what about yourself?
Funnily enough, when we were talking about it last night, when I did the call with Clint, I kind of knew I was going to do the movie anyways, because again, the script is so beautiful. So it was really just a kind of a like, okay. And we didn't talk about the part at all. I actually talked about the fact that his dad was a jockey, because I've got racehorses, ex-racehorses, and I used to race exercise racehorses. So I just bonded over that, and the fact that he'd made a movie about a jockey, I was like, sold. I'm in. So yeah, we basically just talked about horses.
Amazing.
And then segued on to, okay, Claire, and she doesn't judge Robert and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. Okay, cool. Like, I'll see you in a few weeks or whatever. So yeah, it was more chit-chatty, getting to know him as a person, which, in all fairness to me, is kind of important too, right? Like, because you do want to get to know the person, the director as a person.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're
stuck with
the quality of your time that you're going to have is dependent on that person. Yeah, it's massive trust.
Because I suppose it's about, the actor-director relationship really is about being able to communicate with each other, understanding where you're coming from, I suppose, in a lot of cases. Like, why have you got this point of view? Why do you see things like this? How can we find sort of common ground?
And are they going to leave you alone to let you do your job?
Ultimately, that's what you realize. The more you do it, you're like, just don't get into my grid, whatever.
Yeah.
Something.
Right, it's true.
Yeah, just trust that, we can get on with it.
Yes. Yeah. And obviously you've got pretty good track records.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the location, because I love location shooting. Like, I think that's one of the most exciting things you can do, is especially like locations like this where it's just magnificent, inspiring scenery. How does that inform your character when you're shooting? Like, first day you arrived on set, what was that like? That kind of experience?
Well, so much of it for our scenes was around that cabin, and Clint actually was really involved John and I, a lot in, seeing images of the cabin. We talked with the set designer and building that homeliness that Gladys would have brought to it. And then going and just, we didn't kind of heavily rehearse it, but we just tracked the scenes and walked them through with Adolfo. So they're all just little moments that accumulate that then make you feel very comfortable when there's a camera in your face. And so that it was quite a kind of just a gentle way into it, but you're gradually building your confidence.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because it's intimidating. The first time you come on set, it's just like you've got this massive infrastructure. You've got all the cameras, you've got lights, you've got hundreds of people, you've got this whole staging. You're in somewhere you've never been before. It's and then amongst that, you're trying to find this creativity, this like honing in on the truth, and trying to create magic whilst it's this kind of machine, isn't it, in a way? This
hadn't lights though, and it didn't have hundreds of people. It was so small.
It was kept nice and contained. That's lovely.
So it was, yeah.
Yeah, there is always that combination though of the technical, the camera, sound, everything, all those technical elements coming together with performance. And
it's a symbiosis,
and it is quite a kind of it's a sensitive process to make that all fuse, because you can't have one without the other. So and sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it does in the case of Traindreams.
Yeah, definitely. So and what about yourself in terms of
the location? Yeah, so that was another thing. It makes me sound really lazy, but I was like, I have a farm really close to where we shot. So I was like,
not much of a commute.
Kind of.
Not hard sell for you to get there.
Yeah, Kerry lives nearby. I was like, really?
Yeah, I had to fly.
Just ride your horse home.
Yeah.
It was the distances are so
so it was bizarre to me that I still had to. But yeah, so it's very close to where I have a farm, and that was another reason, because that's part of the reason why I have a farm there, because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the trees are humongous and the sunsets are gorgeous. And so And then just, it wasn't more the convenience. It was more like it's meant to be.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, that's where you're filming? That's crazy. I'm literally like down the road. Not really literally, but yeah, kind of.
Down the road.
A few days ride over the mountains on your horse.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a great way to turn up for work.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So what's your sort of preference in terms of like the rehearsals? And we talked a little bit about having discussions around the character and you've done the text reading. Do you like to do do you like a sort of a fairly skim through so you keep it fresh for the day? Like how do you both work in terms of, because you can underbake or you can overbake that side of things quite easily, I think.
Depends on the job, doesn't it? A little bit, I suppose. I don't, sometimes when people go, like, we're going to rehearse, and then you're like, you don't even know what rehearsals are. Do you know that have that happen? You're like, it's a waste of time.
How do I rehearse? Yeah.
I feel like increasingly people want to rehearse less now. I feel like years ago, there used to be so much more rehearsal. I don't know why that. Maybe it's a style of...
It's probably a money thing.
Yeah.
Money. Yeah, I mean, that's always a small
That's
part
going to
of
cost us. So we'll take a in the moment approach.
Yeah.
It'll be cheaper. So true.
So let's talk just a little bit about the difference between that. You've both been in Star Wars. As well as this. We had a quick chat in Toronto about this, actually. You're going from Hollywood movies to, prestige indies and all the sort of the territory in between. I'm still mourning your character from Rogue One. That was a real tragedy, but a beautiful film. So how does it, how does it differ? Because I mean, this sounds like a lovely kind of, high end, prestige drama, independent, slightly smaller scale. And then obviously you've got like Star Wars, which is a huge kind of infrastructure. How do you sort of adapt to that? What are some of the, the differences?
What are the differences? Jeez.
I think, again, though, weirdly there are less differences than it being dependent on the filmmaker and the people involved and the atmosphere they create and you create together. It is what sort of dictates your experience of it. I think really, whatever you're doing, you're kind of applying the same rules. It's character first and figuring out who they are and why they're making certain decisions. And then I guess the size of that world differs depending on the story.
Yeah. Do you have any tips or tips of do's and don'ts for directors, throughout all of your years of working in acting? Like some things that are helpful, some things that maybe aren't helpful, or maybe like a great note you can remember from Traindreams or something else. Because it's nice for our audience because, a lot of us really love working with actors and it's, people get things wrong.
You're not a dictator.
Yes, that's a good one.
It's collaborative and it's about finding great camera people, great sound people, great actors and everybody working together. And that's the most fun is when it's all it feels like we're all doing this together as opposed to
just stand over there.
Yeah,
move like this,
or just not realizing other people might have better ideas than you. Sometimes people do, and that's not me. It doesn't mean that you're not good. It just means that maybe it's a better idea. I suppose being open to collaboration is major. Usually, the best directors are really good at that.
Yeah, I think it's the confidence in who you've employed and letting them do what they need to do.
Yeah, being able to sort of relinquish that control.
Yeah.
And be a filter rather than the overarching, this is the way I see it and you need to do it that way.
Yeah, and they're kind of shepherding it.
Yes.
But letting people feel ownership of what they're doing.
Yeah. Any last advice for maybe yourselves aspiring many years ago before you were, a fantastic success?
For aspiring actors.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's a hard one.
I feel like you're both just such authentic actors. I feel like that's what your appeal is. I mean, that's my take. But your characters always have immense grit and there's you're just always on side with whatever you're trying to do in the scene. And you've kind of got this, I don't know, a complexity and you can bring in sadness very well, especially in this one. So I suppose that's what makes me think, okay, these are successful actors for these reasons. But be interested to know what your sort of take is on,
Well, I think one of the hardest parts of acting is putting yourself on tape, And I remember thinking that was such a huge part of our lives, was doing that, and then finding someone who'd come and read with you, and then you'd be editing it. And then it started being like you'd be sent sort of 8 scenes of like 4 pages of dialogue. And it takes me ages to learn lines, like ages. You'd sort of be overwhelmed. And then you wouldn't even know if you're going to get the job in the end. And it's really tough that, that process. I have so much empathy for that. And I remember thinking, I'll do anything. I just don't want to have to keep doing that. Whatever it takes. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. When they ask, when they loads of pages, it's like, oh, come on. Hang on, I directed for it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll make it at home. Goodness sake.
But I suppose for an actor, an advice would be like, and I know it would like try and find some other interest. So when you're not working, you're not spiraling.
Great. Oh, yeah. You need that with everything.
Yeah.
Something away from your work that you really
that
love.
Can keep you busy, kind of. Or you'll just get jealous of people that are working, and then you'll get all toxic.
Yeah,
so
You'll be like this. They're doing that.
I know.
They're wearing that.
Go hiking.
Or just find other things to keep you busy.
Builds your life. Yeah.
Well, lovely advice to finish on. I mean, congratulations again. It is one of my favorite movies of the year.
Thank
it's
you.
Exactly the kind of drama I love watching. And wish you both the best and keep enjoying your work.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you.